In today's episode, I'm excited I'll be talking with Mike Morawski. With over 30 years of real estate investment experience, Mike has successfully managed more than $450 million in transactions and is a coach, real estate investor, speaker, and author. Welcome, Mike.
Hey, thanks, Sebastian. Been looking forward to getting here.
Same here. Same here. Hey, why don't you start with just sharing some of your story and why you do what you do?
Yeah. Well, let me start with why I do what I do, and people have asked me, how come you don't do something else? I say, because I don't know how to do anything else. I love what I do. I feel like real estate and specifically the apartment business is in my DNA. It's part of who I am. My background, I've been in real estate, like you mentioned, over 30 years. I'm going to date myself right away coming out of the gate here. I started out as a residential agent. Prior to that, I had a general contracting business. I like to term myself as a serial entrepreneur. I started businesses over the year, made successes of them, and moved on. But I had a general contracting business. We were building about 25 room additions a year. And as an entrepreneur, Sebastian, you do everything. So I was doing the marketing and the sales and the contracts and the ordering and the hiring and the firing and the bookkeeping. And I was still in the field banging nails. And I remember very clearly waking up one morning, looking at my wife at the time, just going, I'm burnt out. I can't do this anymore. I need a change. And I was fortunate. I had somebody knocking on my door to buy my company. I sold my company and I took a year off, or at least I thought I took a year off. As an entrepreneur, it's hard to just shut down and settle down. I bought a couple of duplex and started rehabbing those. And along the way, I met a real estate agent who was extremely successful. And I went to him and said, hey, I think I'd like to go in the business. And he said, I think you'd be good at it. You're good with people. You have a great personality. And I got licensed and went back to Todd, the real estate agent, and said, hey, could I shadow your team? And he said, no, I'm going to do something better for you. I'm going to make you a cassette tape. And now I say that, again, dating myself, because I don't think you could find anything to make a cassette tape on today.
I don't think
but
so.
I equate these podcasts to that cassette tape because I listened to that over and over and over again. And I went in the real estate business. My first 9 months in business, I sold 78 houses. I was RE/MAX Rookie of the Year. And in 2005, after that, I built a team and we were selling about 125, 130 houses a year and did that consecutively for about 12 years. In 2005, saw the market was starting to soften and knew I wouldn't do that much business and decided to go in the apartment business. Now, I didn't just wake up one morning and say I was going into the apartment business, but it was something I had thought about because I had done a lot of work when I was in the contracting business for a couple of large apartment syndicators. And syndications are just a fancy word for saying we bring a group of people together for a common effort to buy a piece of real estate. So I had done some work for these syndicators previously and thought, it was a pretty interesting business. You raise private capital, you find a great real estate deal, you marry it together, and everybody makes money. I went in the apartment business in 2005. Over the next 30 months, scaled a company, $100 million in value. I'm a little bit of an overachiever. We bought 4,000 apartments in 5 markets, built a property management company managing 7,500 units. And like I said, it's in my blood, in my DNA.
Nice. Well, it's funny you said serial entrepreneur, and I was just thinking, is there any other kind?
Yeah. I've known a lot of people that think they're going to go open a business. They're going to be an entrepreneur. They go into business and, a couple of years later, they're back working for somebody. So I don't think that the life is for everybody. The lifestyle might be attractive and be for everybody, but not the life.
I don't know, kind of a bit of an overachiever and to have a little bit of that, mindset or approach to be successful as an entrepreneur, in my opinion.
100%.
So tell me, how do you balance personal life and work in a high demand industry like real estate?
Yeah, that's a great question. If I think back when I was in the real estate business, selling real estate, I never worked weekends. So after 2 or 3 years in the business, I set some standards for myself. I said 5 o'clock on Friday afternoon, I would go home and not go back to the office till Monday. And I did that. And I would get offers over the weekend and agents would be mad on Monday morning. And my voicemail was very clear always. Hey, if this is after 5 on Friday, I'll be unreachable till Monday morning at 7 a.m. And, I was very clear about it. And so I didn't work after 7 o'clock at night, always turned my phone off, always shut down. I had young kids growing up and wanted to make sure that I was home with my family and my kids. And it's the same thing now. I have to shut off. Otherwise, I'll go 24/7. I have to shut off and go take time for myself, personal time, right? Whether that's read a book, go for a walk on the beach, spend some time with my girlfriend, whatever that might be. I have to go take that time. But you have to be disciplined about it.
I really applaud your discipline because it is not easy to shut off. And man, I can't even imagine in real estate. I had a friend that was an agent, and it's like a 24/7, 8 days a week job.
Only if you let it be. Only if you let it be. Yeah.
Tell me, what does success mean to you?
I think success has taken on different versions over the years. The older I get, the different success is for me today. It used to be about money, right? Oh, I got to make $1 million a year. That used to be success. I remember when I was younger, I had a friend who said, I'll know I truly made it when I buy a Cadillac, just to show you how long ago that was. Success for me today is having good relationships with people, having people know that they can depend on me, that I live a life of integrity and that I give back, right? I think we all have a gift to give to people. And success for me today is giving back, giving that gift back to people.
You're here. Let's switch gears maybe a moment and just can you tell me what you find most exciting about, say, mindset and real estate investing?
Well, first of all, you have to have a good mindset. I believe to be in the business I'm in, your mindset has to be in a good place. And, I do coaching and I teach people how to do real estate syndications and invest in real estate. And I have for years and years. Your mindset, this is such a game of easy discouragement. And if your mindset is not right, you need to go take some time, take an hour for yourself, take a few minutes, whatever it takes to go reset, right? To get back in the game. Because if you're not focused on it being intentional about what you're trying to accomplish, you're wasting your time because there's a connection there with people. Because this is a people business, whether you're renting an apartment or raising capital for somebody to invest in an opportunity, your mindset has to be right. And I've learned that if my mindset's not right, I'm better off just taking the day off, right? Or going and resetting of some kind. Because real estate can be stressful, it can be hard, but it's also very opportunistic. So there's a lot of opportunity for success in the real estate business, whether you're just an investor investing passively or whether you're an active investor in the business.
You find that, like, say, an abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset, does that come into play in this space?
Absolutely. And I think it comes into play not just in real estate, but in anything, Sebastian. I think our mind unlocks everything else in our life. I'm a huge advocate of Joe Dispenza and Tony Robbins. And, all that is about mindset, right? And the way we think is how we accomplish what we want to accomplish.
Yeah, you're right. And some of those programs are like explicitly about mindset, but I've gone through some different training and coaching programs, and it seems like no matter where you go, mindset's foundational to really everything.
It's just like the Tony Robbins quote behind you. It is in your moments of decision that your destiny shaped. And that's so true, right? It's
So true.
what we decide is going to take us to where we want to go. And if you say to yourself, oh, I can't, or it never works out, well, then it's never going to work out. But if you believe that you're going to achieve things and things are going to work out, then it's going to work out for you.
Right. Like the old saying, whether you believe you can or you believe you can't.
Right. Old Earl Nightingale.
You knew better than I did. So tell me, what's the biggest challenge you've faced in your career and how did you overcome that?
I think challenges happen as a result of taking action. And I think that we all get faced with challenges, some more than others, but challenges show up for people over time if you do enough. I remember reading Donald Trump's book, The Art of War. Right? No,
Here are the game, I think, or
Art of the Game or something like that. I don't remember. I read it years ago, but I remember him saying in there, if you haven't been sued, you just haven't done enough. It kind of goes hand in hand with small failures. Not everything you touch, you're going to be successful at. Not everything I touch, I'm successful at, you know, but what do I do after the failure is what's most important. Do I let it control my destiny? Do I let it set me back? Or do I say, no, I'm going to conquer it? I think a lot of what I do today is because I want to show that I won't let my past dictate my future, no matter what that was.
right. I mean, the way I look at it is like you don't fail unless you don't learn from it. They're just learning opportunities.
Right. Yeah, 100%. I love that. And that's so true, right? They are learning opportunities. And I think it's how we frame it, right? It's not what happened to us, but happened for us.
Mindset, right?
For sure.
So what are some common challenges that your clients face?
It depends on who my client is, right? So one side of my business, I coach and train people. I teach people how to do real estate. And I think common challenge is just lack of activity, lack of action. I think that you can get a lot of education and I can teach you, Sebastian, what to do. But if I don't encourage you to go take action, it doesn't matter what I teach you and the knowledge that you have. Knowledge is only as good as the action you take around it. So I think a common challenge that my coaching clients take is they don't take action. And then sometimes the action they take is not effective action, right? I mean, I think we could take action, but if it's not right, it's not going to work. If we take action and at least try, here, I'll give you an example. I sold residential real estate for 15 years. Always wanted to go in the apartment business, finally made a decision to go buy an apartment building. I thought I had 15 years of real estate experience. I thought I knew a lot about real estate. Well, I went in the apartment business, and the first time somebody said to me, cap rate, NOI, yield maintenance, I was lost because we don't talk like that in the residential side, right? That's commercial language.
Yep.
So I had to learn a whole new language. I had to re-educate myself. I'm a huge question asker. So I love when, the questions you're asking because I do the same thing. But you got to ask enough questions to get the information, but then take the action, right? And put it into play. And I think that the common challenge that my coaching clients have is that they don't take action.
So true. It just reminds me of another Tony Robbins quote, which is, knowledge isn't power. Knowledge is potential power. You have to actually put it into action.
Right. Exactly.
What are some actionable insights or tips that you could share with our chiropractic community who may just be starting out and, not even know what they don't know about real estate investing?
So Sebastian, you may know my partner, one of my business partners is a chiropractor. And I find this fascinating because I run in circles of real estate people and investors a lot. But when I go into another circle or a community where they're not real estate investors and they're savvy, they don't know, everybody's like, well, I'd love to invest in real estate, but I need hundreds of thousands of dollars to do so. Well, you don't need hundreds of thousands of dollars to invest in real estate. And so many people that we talk to in these chiropractic communities don't understand that you can be in real estate and still run your chiropractic practice, but have the rewards of real estate, the rewards of cash flow, preservation of capital, long-term gains, and tax planning strategies to help you keep more of your income as a result of that. And I'm fascinated by the amount of people in that community. And I have other clients I work with that are in other communities, right? Whether they be engineers or car buffs or, some other profession that don't get it, don't understand how you can invest passively in a real estate opportunity and reap great rewards and, even as much as double your income every 5 years. So the other point to this is that And I didn't realize this until I started working with Kate. And she said, look, you can't get rich being a chiropractor, right? You have to create other streams of income for yourself and you have to create wealth in other areas. You can't do it just by cracking backs.
True, true. And how do you see things progressing in the near future when it comes to real estate investing?
So, as you can imagine, after 30 years in the business, I've seen a lot of this up and down, right?
Right.
There's no geniuses in the real estate business, there's only market cycles. And I firmly believe, after watching several market cycles over the years, that we're moving into a time, and it's a time for me that I've said several times, man, if I would have seen it coming, I could have got involved, right? I could have been in front of the next run, but I'm watching it right now. And, we spent 6 or 8 years, 10 years going to the top of the mountain. We ticked out, came over the top and back down now, and we're at the bottom. I believe you can see the instability in the stock market. You can see the upset in international trade. You can see a lot of things going on that are saying, hey, we're at almost or in the bottom. And the only place to go now is up. So I believe firmly that in the next few months, we're going to start to see this market start trending up again. And it happens so subtly every time that before you know it, you're in it and the bottom is so far behind you that you've already missed part of the run. So I tell people today, hey, look, if you want to be somebody who's always wanted to take advantage of an opportunity that will help you create wealth, because I think we're going to see one of the largest redistributions of wealth this country's ever seen in the coming years. And your opportunity lies right in front of you right now. There's an old proverb that says there's 2 times in life you can plant a tree. You can plant it today or 20 years ago. Now, if you take that to heart and you think, okay, I could get involved today, or in 5, 10, 20 years from now, I could look back and say, shoulda, coulda, woulda, where do you want to be?
Yeah. Well, and I'm reading the Warren Buffett's biography. It's all about compounding. Like you said, 20 years ago is way better than getting started today.
Right.
Well, thanks for sharing that. Before we sign off, do you have any final advice you'd like to share with the chiropractic community or anything we might have missed?
Yeah, I think that if you are somebody who's looking to add additional streams of income, there's plenty of ways out there to do it. Whether you get involved in alternative investing, real estate, gas and oil, crypto, right? I'm not a crypto guy. But, or, if you're somebody who wants to create some long-term generational wealth, real estate is an asset class to do that. I take to heart what I said a minute ago, that you can't create wealth just by running a chiropractic practice. That like you can go to work at a W-2, collect a paycheck and create real wealth by doing that. You have to create other forms of revenue for yourself, income and long-term gains. And that's what real estate offers you. So if I could give anybody any advice, even if it's not real estate, if it's another asset class or another business, go do something else for yourself. Invest your money wisely, invest it in places that will grow for you over time.
100%. And diversification. I mean, that's seems like just good sense.
Yeah. And you know what? I love that you said that, because diversification even means, they used to talk about diversification in the stock market, some in stocks, some in bonds, right? That this is, if you're in real estate, maybe you do some single family, maybe you do some multifamily, maybe you do some commercial, maybe you do some senior living, whatever that may be. Maybe you're in real estate and the stock market. I believe in a well-balanced portfolio, right? I've had investors say, hey, I have $500,000 I want to invest with you. And I say, I don't want it all. Let's start with a little bit, get your feet wet, but go do something else with somebody else to diversify a little bit.
I like that.
Yeah.
Please tell our listeners the best way to find or connect with you.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. So If you are on social media anywhere, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, you can find me there. I'm always putting out content, information, good ideas and thoughts, either mindset, like we talked about early, or about real estate education, or maybe an event that I have coming up. If you'd like to reach me personally, I love to network. I love to meet people. You can reach me at mike@mikemorawski.com. And I would welcome any opportunity to talk with anybody. Can I talk about my book real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. Please.
Okay, great. And I did write a book, Amazon bestseller, Multifamily Investment Secrets, Your Explosive Guide to Wealth in Multifamily Real Estate. This is a step-by-step guide on how to buy and run real estate. I talk a lot about creative financing in this book. So if you're somebody who's looking to get into business on your own as an investor, this could be a great book for you to use. If you're somebody who's just looking to invest some of your capital and create a stream of income, then this could be a place for you to reach out to me also.
Very nice. I think I just found my next Kindle read. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of your insights with us today, Mike. We'll be sure to link to your program, your socials, your website, all that will be in the show notes. So in case anyone wants to take a closer look at that, I'll find your book and we'll link to that too. And so that way, if they want to find anything else, they can just go to chiropracticeinsights.com and learn more.
Thanks, Sebastian. I appreciate your time today.
Same here. Thank you, Mike.
Chiropractors, if you've tried advertising on social media only to be disappointed by the results, you're not alone. Often, the reason it doesn't work boils down to a lack of trust with your potential patients. That's why we created a simple method to build trust and attract high-quality patients. If you want to learn how to do this in only a few minutes each week, just go to hybridvideoblueprint.com.